Okay, all right. Well, first of all, good evening, AFG family, and forgive us having some technical difficulties, but we always overcome. So thank you for joining us tonight. And I know that these are challenging times. We're facing court battles, congressional fights, and now the very real threat of another government shutdown. But tonight, before we dive into the updates, I want to take just a moment to speak from the heart about the epidemic of violence we're witnessing. All of us have been shaken by the recent wave of political violence in this country, with another horrific assassination against conservative media personalist Charlie Clerk just last week. No matter what our politics are, violence like this tears at the very fabric of our democracy. It's an attack not only on one person, but on all of us, on the values that we share as Americans. In moments like this, it's a natural to feel anger, it's natural to feel despair and fear. But I believe we must meet this moment with a renewed unity of purpose and a recommitment to the American values that defined us. That is democracy, freedom, equality, and justice. At the very heart of those values are fundamental rights to free association and freedom of speech. The right to speak our mind and join together with others who share similar beliefs. Because what does it mean to be a union member? It means coming together with coworkers, even those who may disagree with, and work through our differences. It means debating and discussing and ultimately deciding the best way forward for the whole group. And then standing shoulder to shoulder in solidarity. That's not just what unionism is about, but that's what America is about. That is the very essence of the American experiment. These are so that there are so many voices, rather that we want to keep us, attacking one another, and we can't afford to do that. There are those who want to try every tragedy as a moment to sow further hatred, division, and discord, to fan the flames as just the moment when we need to turn down the temperature. But we're not at our best as a union and as a nation, and when we are fighting one another, but when we are united in common purpose, that's what this is all about. When we commit to one another, when we say, I may not agree with you on everything, but we are in this fight together. That's what makes America great. And that's what will make us strong, to withstand every attack, whether it comes from those who want to dismantle our union, privatize our government, or tear up our communities, through fear and violence. So tonight, as we hear updates from courts and from Congress, from our organizers, and from our members on the front line, I want us to keep that spirit of solidarity at the center of everything that we do. Because those who would divide us only succeed if we let them. And I'm telling you tonight, we will not let them. I'm telling you tonight that AFGE is here to stay because we are united, we are committed, and we are going to win. So let me tell you why I believe that. Because I see it happening. Just this week, we won another court case. We're closing in on the magic number of 218 needed on the discharge petition. And we're expecting the introduction of a Senate companion bill on tomorrow. Brothers and sisters, we have the momentum. We're still making progress. And if we stick together, we will prevail. So now let's get started. We've got a packed agenda with updates tonight. And I want to, before I turn it over to General Counsel, I'm going to ask Ashanti if she would read the code of conduct. And I'm going to ask, is Diana, let's see, who is on the mainstream? Andrew, I'll just let you serve as our POC for the night, okay? Ashanti, would you please read the code of conduct?
President Kelly, I'll be happy to read the code.
If there's somebody else on the panel that can do it, that'd be fine. I just don't know who's on there.
President Kelly, I'll be happy to do that. AFG's code of Sets expectations for acceptable behavior of all participants in AFGE activities, events, or meetings. You may access the code at afge.org/code of conduct. If you believe you've been subjected to unacceptable behavior, please contact the Code of Conduct designee for this meeting. The designee for this meeting will be myself.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. And you can find Andrew's contact information in the chat somewhere. I'm pretty sure he'll give it to you. Okay, but why don't we just go ahead and get started? I'm going to ask Sharp Sangui if he would come now and give us an update, with the status of our main cases that we got going on. So, Rashab, if you don't mind.
Thank you, President Kelly, and thank you for everyone watching. I think the legal wins often get headlines, but it's our members who are in the real fight. And every time I speak, I want to say thank you to all of you, both for being federal employees and for doing what you do to serve Americans, and for allowing me the honor to serve you and to work for you. What you guys are doing is what matters, and we genuinely appreciate it. So in terms of legal updates, I wanted to give 3 quick updates. The first update I wanted to provide is on the case I think a lot of people, our members, are thinking about, which is what we call the exclusion EO case, or our challenge to President Trump's March 27th executive order, which stripped collective bargaining from nearly 2/3 of our members. A lot of these updates we've given before, so I'll quickly summarize. We filed a lawsuit challenging that, and a judge found in the Northern District of California found that the Trump administration very likely retaliated against us based on our First Amendment speech, based on everything that we have been doing, everything that our members and leadership have been doing to fight the Trump administration's attacks. Unfortunately, a 3-judge panel of the Ninth Circuit paused the injunction that the judge gave. They issued what's called a stay in legal terms. Essentially, it's a temporary pause on the injunction, which allowed the administration to continue to implement the executive order. We, however, had planned. We disagreed with the panel's decision. We believe it was wrongly decided. We believe the panel got the law wrong, and we believe the government didn't accurately represent everything at the hearing, in particular about collective bargaining agreements. They had suggested that they weren't going to cancel them, and then they ended up canceling them. So we were planning on asking for what's called en banc reconsideration, or asking for a larger number of judges on the Ninth Circuit to consider rehearing this case, or reconsidering what these 3 judges did. Before we even asked for that, the court on its own decided it was going to consider that. And so we are in the process of briefing that, and sometime next week, we will have finished briefing that. And over the course of the next month, the judges in the Ninth Circuit will decide whether or not to rehear the case. We are hopeful that we will receive that, and that we will get that injunction back. However, I think it's really important to note that what we're litigating right now is a temporary stay. We're also still litigating the actual injunction in the Court of Appeals and also in the district court. And so there's so many different ways we can get relief as this case goes forward. And we have a decision of a judge. We have actually multiple judges, not only in our case, but in other cases, and in our TSA case, which said this administration is retaliating against us based on the First Amendment. Some of those decisions have been stayed, but they haven't been reversed. And we think at the end of the day, the courts are going to agree that what the administration has done with this executive order is unlawful, not only based on our First Amendment rights and your First Amendment rights, but on other grounds as well that we are pursuing this case. 2 other quick updates. We got a very good decision in our RIF reorganization case. There's a long history of this case. We got an injunction that resulted in a 2-month stay, or a 2-month injunction, on the reorganization and RIFs government-wide. That injunction resulted in several RIFs that were planned being rescinded and stopped until in July, the Supreme Court paused that injunction. After the injunction was paused, however, many of these RIFs did not actually come to fruition. Agencies reconsidered, they never re-implemented. And the case continues in the district court. And the government tried to get the case dismissed, essentially telling the judge, for many reasons, including the Supreme Court stay, this case shouldn't move forward. The judge issued a great decision saying that, what the Supreme Court did was not dismiss this case. The Supreme Court did not reverse the basis for this case, and that it can still move forward. And so that was a great decision. And we are hoping to continue to pursue that case, not only to prevent future reductions in force and reorganizations, but potentially also reverse some of those that haven't been reversed in the past. Again, the litigation is still ongoing, but it's a big, important case that will have global impacts. And finally, over the weekend, we received a really positive decision on the merits of our probationary employee case that has been going on since February. Originally, the injunction we received resulted in several probationary employees being reinstated. The judge now, in his final decision, he didn't include reinstatement as a remedy. However, he did make it clear that what the government did was wrong, and is requiring the government to admit their error to all of these employees and correct a lot of the damage they have done in terms of personnel files and so forth. These are just some of the big cases. I encourage you to go to afge.org to find out more about what we are doing, both in the courts and in the MSPB and in arbitrations. We continue to litigate everywhere we can, and we'll continue to provide you updates. And again, thank you for all you do, and thank you for allowing us to represent you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Shab, for that important update and for all the work that our general counsel always is doing to defend our members' rights. These cases are about far more than statutes or procedures. They are about our livelihood and the services the American people rely on. And so now I want to turn it to the heart of our union, our members and organizers. Now, I know some of you may be wondering, why should I stay in FGE right now when the attacks are so relentless? Well, here's the truth. The only reason we've survived every assault so far is because our members have stood together. Our power has never come from a contract sitting on a shelf or from words written in a statute. Our power comes from people. Our power comes from you. So when you remain a member, you're not just paying dues. You're investing in a fight force, that defends our job, defends your rights and your voice at work. That's what it's all about. And we're making sure that when the government threatens a shutdown or when politicians try to strip away our bargaining rights, we have the resources and the solidarity to fight back. And here's the practical reality. Management doesn't back down because we act nicely. They back down because they know that our members are united. They know that they're organized and that they're ready to act together. And that's why staying in AFGE matters now more than it ever has. It means that you're part of a team that protects each other and wins together. It means you're never standing alone. And with that, I want to turn it over to our organizing director, Dave Can, to share how we're building that power on the ground and how you can get involved. So, Dave, would you please go ahead?
Dave, you're on mute.
Sorry, my apologies. Thank you, President Kelly.
No problem.
Brothers and sisters, I want to start with something simple and clear. Our union is still here, and our union is strong still because of you. Every call you make, every conversation you have with a coworker, every action you take to defend your workplace, that is what gives your union, AFGE, its power. Let's talk more about where that power comes from and how we're building it stronger every day. First, what we have won in the past, we have won by acting like a union. In just recent months, and Rashab mentioned some of this, we've beaten back dozens of promised RIFs that were supposed to come out over the summer in agencies across the country, including an 83,000 person RIF at the VA. We've driven the worst of DOGE out of the government. We saved our pensions from attacks on the chopping block with recent legislation. There's more in your recent history that you should be proud of. A proposal to shut down hundreds of federal facilities by the Heirs Commission. Record-setting pay raises in recent years. All of this we've done, not through contracts, not through grievances, and not with any rights that we were given by statute or under contract. We did it by acting like a union and standing shoulder to shoulder, by demanding what belongs to us, and it delivers. This is your history as a union. This is your recent history, but this goes back decades. AFGE existed for 40 years before we had a single right recognized by the federal government. Everything we have built and won, we have built and won by standing together and demanding it in the loudest voice we can collectively. That is organizing and that is power. Let's talk about how we do it. First, e-dues. The government has tried to take away payroll dues deduction as a way to weaken our union. They promised to fire federal employees. We stood up and we demanded our voices be heard, and they tried to outlaw our union and get rid of it. As long as we stand strong and keep fighting, as we have done in recent months, under the worst attacks this union or any labor union has seen by the federal government in the history of this country, we can continue to make these wins. E-dues is how you say no politician or agency can decide whether or not you stay a member. You are in control. Already over 150,000 members of this union have made the switch, and it's made our foundation stable as a result. If you haven't yet made the move, now is the time, because your membership is what keeps our union alive and fighting. Go to joinafge.org and make the switch now, and protect the only thing standing for our jobs and our future, your union. Second, Solidarity Center. We built this online hub to be the one-stop shop for our members to build power. If you go to the Solidarity Center, afgesolidarity.org, you can check your membership status, sign up for e-dues, sign up for live organizing training, get organizing training resources, and see a rotating call of actions asking members to take steps to protect our jobs and our future. It's also where you can plug into volunteer opportunities and find resources you need to fight back against the attacks we're facing. If you've ever wondered, what can I do right now? The Solidarity Center is the answer. Third, and I mentioned this above, volunteering. Our union is the strongest when members are not just paying dues, but stepping up and leading. We have members volunteering to host meetings, run phone banks, text coworkers, help organize trainings and rallies. Volunteering is not just about helping the union, it's about growing our power, learning new skills, and starting to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. When times feel alienating and scary, we can make a difference and we can make it together. We become the backbone of what this union is all about. We've seen time and time again, those volunteer-led efforts win the toughest fights. So if you haven't yet, go to afg.org/volunteer to sign up. Every step. An hour here, a conversation there makes a big difference. And brothers and sisters, here's the bottom line. The attacks we're facing are serious. They're designed to divide us and to weaken us. But we know how to win because we've done it before, and we're doing it now. Win by sticking together, win by moving to e-dues, win by using the Solidarity Center to stay informed, win by volunteering to take action in our workplaces and our communities. Thank you, President Kelly.
Well, thank you, Dave. Thank you for your leadership and for laying out how each of us can, play a part. Now let's turn to the fight in Congress. First, the looming shutdown. Once again, politicians are playing games with federal workers' livelihood. AFGE have been working around the clock to make sure lawmakers understand what's at stake, not just for us, but for the American people who depend on the services we provide every single day. And second, the HR 2550 discharge petition. This petition to bring the Protect America Workforce Act on the floor is gaining momentum. We are close to the magic number of 218. That's the signatures that we need in order to get it to the floor. And let me tell you, that progress has come because of you. Our members have been making calls, have been showing up, and keeping the pressure on. Now, I'd like to invite our legislative affairs team to share more detail on both the shutdown fight and the discharge petition. So, Daniel, if you don't mind, would you come on and bring your team?
Thanks so much, President Kelly, and nice to be here this evening again. Let me discuss three topics that we have been working on in recent weeks, and I have a lot of good news to report actually this time, as President Kelly alluded to. First of all, though, let's talk about the budget and the shutdown and the possibility that paychecks may be interrupted in a few weeks, something we often talk about this time of year. So the Congress has made little progress on appropriations bills so far. There are about 3 bills that have advanced through both chambers, but not to the point that they can be signed into law. And there are more than 10 bills necessary to fund the government. So we are again looking at a continuing resolution, and it's going to come down to what are the specific terms of that continuing resolution. And this week, President Trump actually weighed in on some of that. And that is going to have an impact on the Republicans in Congress. So the Republicans in Congress recently put forward what they call a clean CR that runs through mid-November, just before Thanksgiving. And I think we should no longer use the word clean because it has lost most of its meaning at this point. But what is clean about this bill are not necessarily things that we would like as a union, because clean means does not include significant safeguards against the administration not spending the money that's been appropriated. And we know that they've done so on a rather grand scale, and they pursued rifts and so on, like Rashab has described. This CR on the positive side would maintain current funding levels that at this point date all the way back to the Biden administration, because the Republicans have never been able to do anything different than that. But the shadow hanging over that is that the administration won't spend all the money. So Democrats have their own ideas about this process, and we've certainly provided our ideas and our input as well about preventing rifts and so forth, and preventing what are called impoundments, which is just a way of saying the administration not spending the money. But where things appear to be headed now, Republicans have floated a proposal. The Democrats any minute now may float a counter proposal. And what they have decided to focus on at this point is healthcare. And you'll recall that in reconciliation, healthcare took a lot of hits. Above and beyond that, what are tax credits that help people afford the ACA or Obamacare are set to expire. And so the Democrats plan to make their stand on that issue. It's not an issue that will directly affect a lot of federal workers, but at this point, we have to see how that plays out between the Republicans and the Democrats, and what compromises are reached between the next over the next 2 weeks until September 30th. So at this point, I would urge caution. I don't think we should all be writing to Congress saying fund the government, because that is unclear what that means in the current environment. We have to see what are the specifics of a CR that comes out over the next week or so. So let me move on to some good news, as President Kelly mentioned. First of all, in our campaign to restore collective bargaining rights. So great progress to report in the last month or so. In late July, a House committee that writes the NDAA, the Annual Defense Authorization, included a bipartisan amendment to restore collective bargaining rights at the DoD. We represent, I think, close to 250,000 BUEs there. So huge deal for us, narrowly passed in committee. And the good news is, last week, when the Republicans brought this bill to the floor of the House, they were unable to remove that language. They tried, but ultimately they did not have the votes. And that is a result of our bipartisan outreach to Republican moderates who support labor rights. So they didn't even put it to a vote. They actually voted on the NDAA with that provision in. And this is the first time since Trump got in that either House or Senate has successfully voted on something to restore collective bargaining rights. So huge victory, but of course we have to make sure that stays in the final bill. So we are going to be working on our Senate strategy there as well. Now let me move on to HR 2550, which is the bill to address the broader problem of the loss of collective bargaining rights. And of course, there was the March EO, as well as the later EO in late August that affected NASA, NOAA, and other agencies. So a lot of agencies have lost bargaining rights, vast majority of the government at this point. In early April, there was bipartisan House legislation, that's HR 2550. We got that up to 222 bipartisan co-sponsors, and beginning in June, began working on the discharge petition. And the discharge petition is a technique to force a vote in the House for something the leadership, the Republican leadership, doesn't want to vote on. And that is the underlying bill, HR 2550, to restore union rights. That needs to reach an absolute majority of House members, 218. And we are now very, very close to that goal. We are at 216. So that consists of every Democrat plus 3 Republicans. And those are Brian Fitzpatrick, Bacon in Nebraska, Don Bacon, and Rob Bresnahan in Pennsylvania. So when you meet them, please show your appreciation. And based on recent meetings, we believe we have a clear path to 218 in the next couple of weeks. So stand by for more news there. Lastly, on the Senate side, I know a number of you have asked when we're going to get a Senate bill, and we're not quite ready to announce that tonight, but I can tell you, look for a significant announcement tomorrow. We've been doing a lot of outreach, both sides of the aisle, to get a strong Senate bill in place that will address not only the March EO, but also the August EO that went after NASA and other agencies. And so look for an announcement tomorrow on that, and we will continue to push in both chambers until we get victory on that issue. Thanks, President Kelly.
No, thank you, Daniel, and thank your legislative team for breaking that down for us. Brothers and sisters, these fights on the Capitol Hill, it shows us why our activism matters. It's not enough to hope Congress does the right thing. They act when they push, we push them, right? We got to push them to act. And so we ask you to continue to push. Now, let's talk about every single person on this call and what you can do right now. To do that, I'd like to please invite Andrew Huddleston, our Director of Advocacy, to talk about opportunities to get involved and how you can do so. So, Andrew, would you please go ahead?
Sure, President Kelly, thanks. And, we've heard tonight already about the courts and Congress and organizing, and it's time to talk about what each of us can do tonight to strengthen our union. And the truth is that a lot of the positive momentum that we're hearing about on this call tonight is the result of AFGE members taking action out there in your locals, in your congressional districts, in your states, because that's how we're closing in on 218 co-signers on this discharge petition. That's why folks in the Senate are getting ready to introduce a companion bill. It's because of the pressure that you all are bringing out there as their constituents doing this work. And so we've got to keep the pressure on. Throughout the shutdown fight that's upcoming, we are going to make sure we update our shutdown materials across the web as this situation develops. Daniel just talked a little bit about how this is a trickier situation than some of those that we faced in the past. We're going to get that messaging out, get it out to you so that you can get in touch with your members of Congress. We know Congress is going to be on recess coming up, so it's a great time to touch base with them when they're back in their districts. We're going to continue to get you information out about how you can contact your senator once the Senate companion bill is introduced to encourage them to get on and push that forward. We also, I want to plug really quickly, on October the 18th, in about a month from now, AFGE is participating in a nationwide day of mobilization called No Kings. Now, they had one of these earlier in the year, and it was the largest peaceful mass mobilization in the history of the United States. And we intend to do that again this October the 18th. So we're working with our LPOs and our national organizers to get your locals involved, and we'll have more information that we send out via email about how you can host an event, how you can get involved, how you can speak at an event, how you can attend a rally near you, and all the information that you need to make that happen in your local area is on its way to you. In the meantime, the best way for you to get involved in AFGE and let us know, hey, I'm somebody who wants to start organizing. I'm somebody who wants to get involved in the legislative or political process. I'm somebody who wants to have one-on-one conversations with my coworkers, to make calls to Congress, to get people signed up for e-dues, to help organize my coworkers or my workplace. The place that you want to go right now is to www.afge.org/volunteer. So right now, go to www.afge.org/volunteer. And so what we're doing with all the folks who go to that page, afge.org/volunteer, and sign up there and let us know that they're interested in getting involved. We're having folks follow up with them. We're offering trainings, and we're putting you on an activist list because we know that you're the folks we can count on when we really need it. When we really need folks to make calls, and we really need folks to write letters, and we really need folks to show up to rallies. You're the ones that we're going to reach out to. So if you want to be part of that group today, go to www.afge.org/volunteer and sign up. Raise your hand and say, hey, I want to be an activist in AFGE because I want to help our union build momentum and continue winning these fights down the road for years to come. Every time you step up as an AFGE member, you make AFGE stronger. We've got the tools, we've got the fight. All we've got to do is just act together. So with that, President Kelly, I'll turn it right back over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Thank you very much. Brothers and sisters, allies, tonight, we've heard the truth. We've heard about the court battles. We've heard about the fights in Congress. We've heard about the organizing in our workplace. And we've heard about from members, that's leading the way. The message is crystal clear. AFGE is going no place. We're not going anywhere. But winning this fight is not just about what happens in a courtroom or on Capitol Hill. It's about what happens when each of us take action, shoulder to shoulder, as one union family. And so don't listen only tonight, act. Visit www.afge.org/volunteer and commit to being part of this fight. With our solidarity, with our activism, and with our unbreakable spirit, we will protect our jobs, we'll defend our rights, and safeguard the service the American people depend on. So AFGE is here to stay, and together we're going to win. That's why my words have been carefully chosen, and they are this: we are unbought, we are unbowed, and we are unstoppable, brothers and sisters. So thank you and good night.